Hi everyone, and welcome to my very first book video. My name is Sophie and this is Book Reviews by Sophie. Today we will be talking about Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this is a historical fiction book and it was published in 2021. As the title insinuates, it's set in Malibu, California. So it's set in two alternating timelines, one that's in the past from the late 50s to the early 80s, and one that's in the present, which is in 1983. In the timeline in 1983, it takes place on the day of the famous Riva party, for 24 hours before the party starts to when the party ends. And it ends with Nina Riva's beautiful mansion up in flames. In the past timeline, it explores how the Riva kids' parents met and how the four kids grew up from kid to adult and how their lives kind of developed. The story is separated into two parts. In part one is the past timeline and the early 80s timeline, as well as the before the party starts, and part two is during the party. This party, filled with actors, screenwriters, directors, and other celebrities, becomes totally out of control by the end. This book focuses on the lives of the four well-known Riva siblings, Nina, Jay, Hud, and Kit. Of course, they are made even more famous by the fact that their dad is the well-known musician Mick Riva. Nina is a model and surfer, Jay is a championship surfer, and Hud is known for the pictures he takes of Jay, and Kit is their outspoken little sister. Each sibling has their own secrets and ambitions, which are kind of unfolded as the story goes on. Now that the summary's out of the way, I'd like to talk about my thoughts about this book. So starting with my rating, I would definitely rate this book a 5 out of 5 stars. The story held my attention from the first page, the characters were well written, and the twists I never saw coming. The characters are effortlessly unique and real, and even though they feel famous and untouchable, we learn so much about how vulnerable and human they truly are. Malibu Rising is a story about family and love, and how being bound to one another can be enough, as well as how our relatives' experience affect our own. It's also the story of fame. Instead of taking the perspective that fame is the root of evil or something that changes people, and instead focuses on fame and love and how family is all wrapped up with that as well. Reid does a fantastic job fleshing out the world she writes. She does an amazing job creating an ensemble of characters and celebrities that are not real but feel like they could be. Now, I don't read a ton of historical fiction, but don't let that stop you from picking up this book. It's not boring at all or stuffy. It's super easy to consume, just like any other piece of fiction would be. One thing that really stuck out to me about this book were the vignettes that TJR put into the story. These small stories were for other minor characters at Nina's party, culminating with them all interconnecting at the end of the party. These vignettes really changed the pace and made it feel like a well-rounded story. I like how often these quick introductions to these characters were all that we got. It was a quick little story, and then it was off to the next one, or the next part of the party. It was ambiguous for some of them, so you were able to kind of fill in the blanks with your own imagination, and that's always really interesting, and it's great that it's up to interpretation to everybody else. It made this story more than just about the Riva family. It was also about the people they surrounded themselves with, and the world that they lived in. I really appreciated the messaging about family, love, and fame, as I touched on earlier. These messages are throughout the whole entire story, in both parts and each timeline. There were simply no low points to this book. Nothing I thought that could be different or better. Additionally, if you have read any of her other historical fiction, you'll know how this story fits into the other ones too. And I think it did a really good job fitting into the other stories and fleshing out that whole world that she's created. Who do I think would enjoy this book? Honestly, everyone. It's very accessible for most people and has a story that would captivate anyone. I'd recommend this book to anyone who loves a rich and well-told story, or anyone who wants to pick up a Taylor Jenkins Reid book and for some reason hasn't yet. This is a great one to start with. Lastly, I'd like to leave off with a quote that I think sums up the messaging and the well-written story very well. "Family histories repeat," Nina thought. For a moment, she wondered if it was pointless to try to escape it. Maybe our parents' lives are imprinted within us. Maybe the only fate there is the temptation of reliving their mistakes. Maybe, try as we might, we will never be able to outrun the blood that runs through our veins. Or maybe we are free the moment we're born. Maybe everything we've ever done is by our own hands. Well, that's it for today. If you've read this book, what were your thoughts? Please feel free to leave any comments. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!